Chapter 722. The Heavenly Palace? Hearing Ning Tian's sudden conversation, Luo Wuqing was stunned for a moment before he reacted and nodded slightly. After all, the 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace had not been heard from for a year, which meant that the matter was very tricky. It was normal for Ning Tian to be worried. Okay, husband, you should go. We'll take care of the Tianma cult, Ning Tian said in a deep voice. The 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace had not appeared for a year. It must be because the seal in the blood-stained yellow sand had delayed them. With the strength of the 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace, it was conceivable that they could delay them for such a long time. You guys stay in the Tianma cult. I'll go to the Heavenly Palace, Ning Tian said. He got up and was about to step into the void. However, at this moment, he frowned slightly and looked in a direction. It seems that I don't need to go. Hearing this, the group of people in the hall was stunned. Could it be the 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace were here? Haha, little junior brother, it seems that your strength has improved a lot. You can actually sense our aura. At this moment, a rough laughter sounded in the hall. Then, several figures appeared in everyone's sight. It's the 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace. In the hall, Reincarnation Tao God and the others looked over. The 9 people in front of them, compared to them, the 6 ancient god sovereigns of the ancient god Yuntu a year ago were simply not presentable. However, if Ning Tian faced the 6 ancient god sovereigns now, he would not be as embarrassed as before. Little junior brother, long time no see. Yi Shuang smiled at Ning Tian. Haha, I didn't expect little junior brother to kill the 6 ancient god sovereigns of the ancient god Yuntu alone. You're really worthy of being called little junior brother. Pei Hu and Yi Wuyo laughed and put their hands on Ning Tian's shoulders. Senior brother, why are the 2 of you so close to me? Ning Tian looked at the 2 beside him and frowned slightly. Haha, of course I want to be close to you, junior brother, Yi Wuyo said with a sly smile. Ning Tian, senior brother, don't be like this. I feel a little nauseous. Haha, actually, we've prepared something good for you. It's called the fruit of life. Once you eat it, you'll definitely be able to solve the problem of not having children. Pei Hu laughed and took out an item with a mysterious look on his face. After all, the great battle is about to begin. Among our fellow disciples, only you have a wife. No matter what, you should at least let us see little junior brother's child. Otherwise, we won't have a chance. Pei Hu chuckled with a calm expression. That's right, little junior brother. You have to fulfill our wish, right? The gentle second senior sister covered her mouth and chuckled. Hearing everyone's words, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, he fell silent. He naturally understood what Pei Hu meant by the Great War. The 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace's wish was to be able to see their youngest junior brother's child before the Great War. After all, he might not have another chance in the future. I understand. Perhaps the people in the Heavenly Demon Palace didn't know what the Great War meant, but Ning Tian knew. He nodded seriously and took the fruit of life from Pei Hu's hand. Seeing this, Luo Wuqing opened his red lips. Before he could finish his words, suddenly, 9th senior sister Mu Xianqing's mischievous gaze landed on Luo Wuqing. She immediately leaned over and gently grabbed her jade-like hand. Then, her spirit energy moved slightly, and in the next moment, a cry of surprise burst out from her mouth. Damn! Got it! Got it? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Got it? Got what? When everyone looked over, Mu Xuanqing's pretty face was flushed with excitement. She looked excitedly at Luo Wuqing and then at Ning Tian. She took a deep breath and said, Little junior brother, you're going to be a father. The moment she said that, in an instant, the entire hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes widened and landed on Luo Wuqing. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Damn! The Empress is pregnant? The Patriarch is going to be a father? The Tianma cult is going to have a young Patriarch? At this moment, the Grand Elder, Fatty Qin, and the rest were extremely excited. Their bodies were trembling. It was obvious that they were very interested in this human cub. At the side, when Ning Tian heard Mu Xuanqing's words, he froze on the spot. His brain buzzed as though it had exploded. Then, his expression changed from dull to ecstasy. Damn, I'm going to be a father. In an instant, he directly went to Luo Wuqing's side, hugged her, and gave her a big kiss. Then, he squatted down and leaned over. His ear was pressed against Luo Wuqing's lower abdomen, listening to the movements inside. You can't hear anything now. It's not time yet. Luo Wuqing rolled her eyes at him. Originally, she didn't want to tell Ning Tian so soon. However, when she heard Pei Hu and the rest, she wanted to tell him. However, before she could say anything, Mu Xianqing had already said it. She couldn't be bothered to stop him. Ha ha ha, I'm going to be a father. Ning Tian was ecstatic. Being a father meant that he had an additional responsibility. This also meant that his life was constantly being filled. At this moment, everyone in the hall was extremely excited. For the Empress to be pregnant, it was something worth celebrating for the entire Tianma cult. Patriarch, congratulations. When the young patriarch is born, I'll take care of him. I'll show him the imperial beauty painting. I guarantee that he'll be taught well. The Grand Elder first smiled at Ning Tian, then patted his chest and volunteered, Grand Elder, you can't do that. You're leading the child astray. According to me, I should be the one doing it. I'll give him a horsewhip every day. He'll be the next Ning Buxu, a horsewhip warrior. Zhu Yuanbo muttered as he bit his horsewhip. Yuqin, I love taking care of children the most. Let me do it. Yuqin also volunteered from the side. However, when the three of them said that, they were silently blacklisted by Luo Wuqing. These three were the malignant tumors of the Tianma cult. To let them take care of a child, it would be better to create a new account. Little junior brother, congratulations. Yishuang also sincerely congratulated him. According to the progress, perhaps we'll be able to see the birth of the little guy before the final battle. Before the final battle, is it necessary to be so fast? Hearing this, Ning Tian gradually calmed down from his ecstasy. He couldn't help but frown. He didn't expect the final battle to come so soon. Well, it's better to let him talk to you. Yishuang shook her head and took a step back. The void rippled again, and a white-haired old man appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 7:23. Who is this old man? Is he also from the heavenly palace? Seeing the white-haired old man who suddenly appeared, many people in the hall were confused. They had seen the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace, but it was their first time seeing this white-haired old man. I'm afraid he is the master of the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace. On the side, Tao God Reincarnation frowned slightly and looked at the white-haired old man. After a moment of silence, he said in a deep voice, The master of the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace? Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up with a glint of light. To be the master of the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace, he must be very strong, right? Haha, I can't say he is the master, or rather, the guide of the heavenly god constitution. The white-haired old man chuckled and waved the folding fan in his hand. Then, he looked at Ning Tian and said with a smile, Daoist Ning, long time no see? Ning Tian frowned slightly and looked at the white-haired old man who was completely unfamiliar to him. After thinking for a while, a glint of light flashed in his eyes and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. So it's you. Should I call you Death Fortune Teller? Or Qin Gajiang? Or the master of the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace? Haha. As long as fellow Daoist Ning likes it. Whether it's Qin Gajiang or the Death Fortune Teller, they were all incarnations that I left behind in the 9 domains. They are also a part of me. The white-haired old man laughed and waved the folding fan in his hand. That's right. He was Qin Gajiang of the 9 regions. Or rather, Qin Gajiang was only a part of him. As the guide of the heavenly god constitution, he naturally had a part of him in the 9 regions. After all, the heavenly god constitution was random. It could be born in the god region or the 9 regions. His original body was in the god region, and his incarnation was in the 9 regions. Therefore, Qin Gajiang was the master of the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace, and the master of the 9 Supremes of the heavenly palace was Qin Gajiang. There was no difference between the two. Then I'll call you Death Fortune Teller. It's a familiar name, so I'm too lazy to change it. Ning Tian said faintly. As long as Taoist Ning. Chun Gujiang waved his fan and chuckled. Looking at this scene, Reincarnation Dao God and the others couldn't help but feel a little strange. Patriarch clearly belonged to the Heavenly Palace, and Chen Guijiang was the master of the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace, which was also the founder of the Heavenly Palace. Why did he have some respect for Patriarch? Everyone. I never said that I was the founder of the Heavenly Palace. I'm not the master of the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace. I'm just a guide. At this moment, Chen Guijiang seemed to be able to see through everyone's thoughts. He waved the fan in his hand and chuckled. He can actually hear our thoughts? Fatty Chin and the others were stunned. That's simple. This damn fortune teller is probably a 5-star ancient god sovereign. It's too easy to listen to him. Who knows? He might even be an innate ancient god. Ning Tian said indifferently. He wasn't surprised at all. Haha. Fellow Taoist Ning, you must be joking. Not everyone can become an innate ancient god. There are only 3 innate ancient gods in the entire profound sky. Chen Guijiang shook his head. Oh? Which 3? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. His interest was piqued. First, the founder of the ancient god Yun Tuesday. Second, the creator of the dark turmoil. As for the third, I can't say much. After all, heaven's secrets can't be revealed. Chun Gujiang waved the folding fan in his hand with a mysterious expression as he chuckled. Oh? You really won't say? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. Chen Guijiang glanced at Ning Tian's raised fist and said helplessly, Fellow Taoist Ning, you'd better put down your fist first. This matter. Even if you beat me up again, I can't say anything. Seeing this, Ning Tian could only give up. But he didn't expect. There were only 3 innate ancient gods in the profound sky. 2 of them were related to familiar events. One was behind the ancient god Yun Tu, and the other was behind the dark turmoil. Perhaps, this innate ancient god should be formed from the void. An innate ancient god was definitely harder to deal with than an acquired ancient god. It was also a very tricky matter. So, why did the final battle come so soon? Isn't the seal still intact? Ning Tian frowned and looked at Chun Guijiang seriously. Although the seal isn't broken, the power within it can no longer suppress the dark turmoil. The dark turmoil isn't something that can be suppressed by the power of a heavenly god body. Only in the final battle will we be able to combine this power and reach the peak of perfection. Only then will we be able to suppress it. So, the final battle has to come early. Chun Guijiang shook his head and sighed. He didn't want to see this scene either. But there was no other way. They were forced to do it. Hearing this, Ning Tian's brows were tightly furrowed, and her expression was unusually ugly. It seemed that the reason why the 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace hadn't appeared in the past year was that the dark turmoil in the blood-stained desert had become stronger. That was why they had been delayed for so long. Ancestral Master, the final battle, what is it? Why do you all look so pale when you mention the final battle? At the side, the empty god realm emperor frowned and asked solemnly. The final battle, that is 9 deaths and 1 life. Ning Tian murmured. 9. 9 deaths and 1 life? Hearing this, the group of people in the main hall was stunned for a moment. Then, they suddenly reacted and sucked in a cold breath. Their pupils shrank. The 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace and the Ancestral Master were 10 people. 9 deaths and 1 life meant that out of the 10, only 1 could survive. Hiss. Why are they doing this? In the main hall, the people were puzzled by this behavior. They didn't want to see this happen. No matter who died, it would be a great loss and sorrow. Facing the doubts of the people, the 9 masters of the Heavenly Palace remained silent. This silence represented a kind of helplessness. Because, Yishuang said faintly while the people were silent. She looked at the people and glanced around. Finally, her eyes fell on Ning Tian. Her red lips moved slightly. If you want to save, there must be a sacrifice. Nothing is perfect, just like no one is perfect. Sacrifice. But this sacrifice is too much. In response to this, the people in the main hall still couldn't understand. They didn't want their ancestral master to die, nor did they want the 9 masters of the heavenly palace to die. Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Ning Tian didn't say a word. He knew what Yi Shuang meant. Their sacrifice could be exchanged for Ning Tian's rescue. Next, it would be a kind of rescue. Phew. In that case, everyone, as I said back then, please die by my hands. Ning Tian let out a long sigh of relief. He looked at the 9 sovereigns of the heavenly palace and said the words he had said before. Chapter 724. At this moment, the great hall fell silent. Everyone in the Tianma cult looked at Ning Tian with a trace of doubt in their eyes. They did not understand what the patriarch meant by this sentence. However, Yi Shuang and the others smiled. Yes. Then, junior brother, please don't show mercy when the time comes. The 9 supremes of the heavenly palace had smiles on their faces. Although they said the cruelest words, the atmosphere was warm. This caused everyone in the great hall to have a different kind of emotion, but more of it was a kind of helplessness. Looking at Ning Tian's helpless appearance, the 2 women sighed and silently held his hand. Killing your senior brother and sister with your own hands was one of the cruelest things in the world. Ning Tian looked at the 2 women and couldn't help but hold their hands tighter. He now had an additional responsibility on his shoulders. This responsibility was called protection. He was no longer the person who couldn't do anything. His current strength was close to that of the ancient god sovereigns. He had the ability to protect everything he wanted to protect. Absolutely. Damn fortune teller, according to what you said, the power of the seal can no longer be suppressed, right? Ning Tian frowned and looked at Qin Gajiang. Yes. In other words, the seal today is more of a decoration. Qin Gajiang nodded slightly. Decoration? Wait. Ning Tian seemed to have thought of a crucial problem. His eyes flashed. Since the blood-stained yellow sand is like this, won't the same situation occur in the other sealed places? Under normal circumstances, there should be. At most, it's just a matter of time. Hearing this, everyone's expression became even more unsightly. Then Ling, and father and mother. Luo Wuqing's expression changed slightly, and her willowy eyebrows suddenly furrowed. Wife, don't worry. I've already thought of a countermeasure. Ning Tian raised his hand slightly, indicating that she did not need to worry. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Since we can't protect them, then let them go. After all, staying there will only increase the danger. I'll leave in a few days and inform them of this matter. Yes. No one objected to this suggestion. After all, according to Qin Gajiang, they would not be able to withstand it even if they stayed there. Even if the other sealed lands were not as serious as the blood-stained yellow sand, it would be difficult for Ling, Qin Luo, and Luo Wei to withstand it. Feudal resistance would only result in sacrifices. Why not retreat in advance and not make a pointless sacrifice? That's right, junior brother. Since that's the case, we have another plan to carry out before the big battle. Pei Hu looked over and said to Ning Tian, What plan? Ning Tian frowned. The 9 supremes of the heavenly palace looked at each other and said, Completely destroy the cloud atlas of the ancient god. Completely destroy the ancient god cloud atlas? Hearing this, everyone in the hall couldn't help but be shocked in their hearts. Ancient god Yun too actually dared to attack little junior brother while we were busy. Motherf asterisk cur. How preposterous. We've really given them face. Pei Hu cursed. When they escaped from the sealed lands and heard the news, they were all furious. The cloud atlas of the ancient gods' motives are not pure. If we wait until the end of the final battle, I'm afraid they will secretly plot against us. Why don't we completely destroy them before the end of the battle? Yi Shuang said calmly. Yes, that's our original intention. What do you think, little junior brother? Wen Qing nodded. Hearing the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and looked at them. Of course, he knew what Yi Shuang and the others meant. They wanted to clear all obstacles for him before the final battle. The 9 supremes of the heavenly palace had always been thinking for him. Ning Tian gritted his teeth and couldn't help but clench his fists. Husband, senior sister and the others are still waiting for your response, Luo Wuqing said softly. Only then did Ning Tian return to his senses. He looked at the crowd and swept his gaze across them, after which he nodded heavily and said, "Yes, since senior brother and senior sister have such intentions, let's fight." A year ago, the cloud atlas of the ancient god dared to attack us. A year later, I will personally destroy him. Yes, ancestral master. Hearing this, in the main hall, the people of the Tianma cult were excited and full of fighting spirit. They were finally going to take revenge for the cloud atlas of the ancient god a year ago. Then in the next few days, I will return to the 9 regions and go to the southern frost starry sea. However, the nether black tortoise can't be moved yet. Its duties are not limited to that. Ning Tian murmured and decided on the next plan.
Yes.
Everyone, let's enjoy the calm before the storm. In a few days, we won't be able to enjoy it anymore. Ning Tian looked at the crowd and instructed, "Yes, ancestral master." Everyone nodded. In the next few days, not only did the Tianma cult not quiet, but it also became lively. Because of one reason. The empress was pregnant. The Tianma cult was decorated with lanterns and streamers, and red lanterns were hung up. This made Ning Tian speechless. "Why are you so happy that I'm going to be a father?" After a period of speechlessness, he finally had the time to spend with his 2 wives. Over the past few days, the 3 fanatical fans of the founder had also found all sorts of miraculous medicine to nourish the fetus. However, they were all stopped by Mu Xianqing. In the room, Mu Xianqing was taking Luo Wuqing's pulse. After all, although his 9th senior sister was best at refining poisons and was a poison master, she was also good at medicine if she was good at poison research. "Senior sister, is it a boy or a girl? If it's a boy, is he handsome or not? If it's a girl, is she beautiful or not? If it's a boy, is he weak or not?" In the room, Ning Tian looked at Mu Xianqing, who was taking Luo Wuqing's pulse, and asked a few outrageous questions very seriously. Mu Xianqing was speechless. 9th senior sister's face darkened when she heard her junior brother's question. Haha, Sui Weiyao covered her mouth and chuckled when she heard Ning Tian's words. "Honey, what are you thinking? How can you get so much information just by taking a pulse? Besides, there's still some time before Wuqing is born." "It's hard to tell." Mu Xianqing spread out his hands and shook his head. Then, he changed the topic. "However, there's something strange about Wuqing's fetus." "Something strange?" Hearing this, the 3 people in the room looked over at once, their eyes full of nervousness. "Yes, there's something strange." Mu Xianqing nodded slightly and said in a serious tone, "The spiritual energy is very rich, and there's a kind of power that even makes my heart palpitate. Junior brother, I'm afraid this child of yours is not simple, a power that even 9th senior sister feels her heart palpitate." Ning Tian and the other 2 frowned when they heard this. Chapter 725. "Brat, what did you just say?" After being petrified for a while, the corner of Qin Luo's mouth twitched. He looked at Ning Tian in shock. Obviously, he still hadn't recovered from his shock. Luo Wei couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. Xiaoning said, "You're going to be a grandfather." Luo Wei's mouth was full of smiles. She was happy and couldn't help but look at Ning Tian. "Xiaoning, is the child a boy or a girl? Does it follow you or Wuqing? Is it cute or not?" It was obvious that Luo Wei had been looking forward to it for a long time. "Well, it should take a few more months to find out." Ning Tian said seriously. "A few months? That's soon." At this moment, Luo Wei was grinning from ear to ear. F*CK. I'm going to be AF*, king grandfather? Ha ha ha. Qin Luo, whose reaction arc was obviously too long, finally reacted at this moment. A cry of surprise burst out from his mouth. His expression was very excited. However, despite his excitement, he sighed. "Although I'm going to be a grandfather, when I think of my precious daughter being taken by a handsome pig, I get angry." Ning Tian was speechless. "You've shocked Qin Luo. Reward: unknown trickery. It will be activated when the child reaches adulthood." In his mind, the system's voice sounded. Hearing the system's words, Ning Tian asked a few questions with a dumbfounded expression. Unknown trickery? It will be activated when my child reaches adulthood? My child hasn't even been born yet. Even if she's born, I'll have to wait at least 18 years. System, are you kidding me? A reward for 18 years after the child's birth? That's ridiculous. Haha, brat, hurry up. I can't wait to see my grandson or granddaughter. Qin Luo laughed loudly, looking as if he couldn't wait. Luo Wei immediately rolled her eyes at him. Is this? The emperor isn't in a hurry, but the eunuch is? There's no rush. However, Ning Tian shook his head. He looked at the land of divine perdition and said indifferently, although there is no one guarding this place, we still need to obtain the necessary information. How? Qin Luo and Luo Wei frowned when they heard Ning Tian's words. It's simple. Ning Tian chuckled. Then, under their gazes, he raised his hand and a wave of energy appeared. Then, another Ning Tian appeared before their eyes. It was the ethereal doppelganger. Let this ethereal clone stay here. If there's any movement in the land of divine perdition, I'll know. Ning Tian waved his hand, and the ethereal doppelganger flew toward the land of Godfall tribulation. Ethereal doppelganger? Qin Luo narrowed his eyes slightly but did not say anything. Let's go. After doing all this, Ning Tian slowly turned around, took out the spatial door once more, and took a step into it. Qin Luo and Luo Wei followed closely behind him. When the spatial door in the sky slowly dissipated and an expanse of spatial energy passed, the land of divine calamity was completely silent. Perhaps, one day in the future, the seal would be broken and darkness would come. It could be far away, or it could be in the next moment. After stepping out of the spatial door, the three of them had returned to the God realm, above the sky demon region. Dad, you guys go back to the Tianma cult first. Ning Tian did not close the spatial door. He turned to look at Qin Luo and Luo Wei. Next, we have to go to the Ice God Palace. The seal of the South Sea Star Sea doesn't need Ling to guard it anymore. Okay, got it. I haven't seen Ling in a long time. I miss her. Brat, go and bring Ling back from the endless cold seal. Qin Luo nodded slightly. Okay, let's go. Ning Tian said and stepped into the spatial door again, disappearing. The one who tied the bell should untie it. Waiter, let's go. It's time to see my grandson. Qin Luo sighed, then took Luo Wei's hand and walked toward the Tianma cult. At this moment, the South Sea Star Sea, a cold and dark place. It was cold here, and there was a terrifying cold light in the dark sea. This was the undying sea. In the sky, there was a ripple in space, and a figure stepped out from the void. He was dressed in black, and his expression was cold. It was Ning Tian, who had rushed over from the sky demon region. He looked at the pitch-black, dead sea and spoke indifferently. Since you called me, why don't you dare to show yourself? That's right. After stepping through the spatial door, he came directly to the South Sea Star Sea. He planned to go directly to the Ice God Palace, but on the way, he heard a voice in the void, as if calling him. As expected of the patriarch of the Tianma cult. As expected, you can sense my presence. At this moment, a voice sounded from the dark sea, and then a figure made of water appeared on the surface of the water. The master of the undying sea? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes. The master of the undying sea nodded. Why are you looking for me? Ning Tian said lightly. Recently, there has been a riot at the bottom of the undying sea. There are earthquakes and tsunamis, one after another. I have a hunch that the seal of the land of endless cold has been affected, so I want to ask the patriarch of the Tianma cult. Speaking of this, the master of the undying sea slowly raised his head. It was a face that was like the surface of the water. Darkness? Is it coming? In the sky. Ning Tian frowned slightly. It seemed that the seal of the land of endless frost would be affected before the land of divine perdition. Fortunately, he had arrived in time. Otherwise, with Ling's stubborn personality, he did not know what she would do. After all, Ling was really stubborn. Otherwise, when she was almost beaten to death, she would rather do it herself than ask for help from others. She was not as stubborn as Qin Luo. Patriarch of the Tianma cult? At this moment, hearing Ning Tian's silence, the master of the undying sea was stunned for a moment before he asked again, "Darkness, is it coming?" This time, Ning Tian had already regained her senses. She calmly said, "Darkness is indeed coming." As expected, hearing this, the master of the undying sea could not help but tremble. Due to fear, his body kept fluctuating. Seeing this, Ning Tian frowned slightly. It seemed that there was something between the master of the undying sea and the darkness. "I didn't expect. Darkness is coming again. This time, can our race escape? Last time, we managed to escape the calamity by escaping to the bottom of the sea. Although we managed to survive, we ended up like this. The entire sea has turned pitch black. This time around, who will be able to protect our race?" The master of the undying sea murmured. His eyes were filled with fear. In the sky, hearing the master of the undying sea's words, Ning Tian's eyes lit up. He got some information from it. Chapter 726. In the unknown past, the profound sky world had once experienced the first dark turmoil. In that turmoil, the profound sky world had experienced many things. There were also people who were lucky enough to survive. And now, in the unknown future, the second darkness was about to descend once again. It seems the dark turmoil is not only forgetting, there are many more. Ning Tian's eyes flashed. From Yi Shuang's words, the chaos of darkness was forgetfulness. However, from the words of the Lord of the undying sea, the chaos of darkness did not seem to be forgetfulness, but something else. Could it be that the two were not talking about the same dark turmoil? Ning Tian furrowed his brows tightly. His eyes were filled with doubt. However, he had no way of knowing. However, perhaps he would be able to obtain some sort of conclusion from this dark upheaval. In the darkness, what exactly was there? The patriarch of the Tianma cult. At this moment, the undying ocean lord seemed to have recovered from his fear. He looked at Ning Tian seriously. His eyes that were formed from seawater were filled with sincerity. He slowly said, "I hope the undying ocean can form an alliance with the Tianma cult." Currently, in the entire God domain, the strongest force on the surface was probably the Tianma cult. One must know, the terrifying thing about the Tianma cult was not its strength on the surface, but its foundation. What was even more terrifying was that he had the patriarch of the Tianma cult behind him. Form an alliance? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and asked. However, he did not agree. Yes, the undying ocean lord nodded and said seriously, "I hope, when the darkness is coming, we can form an alliance with the Tianma cult." Hearing this, Ning Tian went silent. After thinking for a while, he waved his hand and said, "Let's talk about it when the darkness is coming." After saying that, Ning Tian didn't give the lord of the undying ocean a chance to speak. She took a step into the void and quickly disappeared from the sky above the undying ocean. The entire pitch-black surface of the ocean was dead silent. The undying ocean, was it dead or not? No one knew. On the surface of the undying ocean, the undying ocean lord was still trembling. His expression was very complicated. A trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. A sigh echoed on the silent ocean. Darkness. What's behind the darkness? Will the dark turmoil this time destroy the entire profound sky continent? The patriarch of the Tianma cult. Can he really create a miracle? Sigh. Ice God Palace. Boom. In the sky, a figure broke through the air and instantly attracted the attention of many people in the Ice God City. Damn it. It's the patriarch. It's said that he is the master of the Godlord Ice. No wonder he could be killed to be killed, ancient god sovereigns to ancient gods to be killed. He God to be killed. God patriarch to God to God to God to God to God to sky to Godlord God to God sky God. When they noticed Ning Tian in the sky, the eyes of the surrounding people were filled with excitement. They looked at Ning Tian with deep respect and worship. In their eyes, Ning Tian was not only the master of the Godlord Ice God, he was a god high and mighty. In the sky, Ning Tian could feel the power of faith gathering towards him. The heart of humanity had reached an extremely terrifying level. However, his attention was not on the hearts of the three clans. Instead, what they were saying. Could something have happened to that lastling? Ning Tian frowned. Under everyone's gaze, he used his divine sense in the sky above the Ice God City. He spread his divine sense across the entire Ice God City. He did not miss a single corner. But there seemed to be no trace of Ling, that girl. Could it be? Ning Tian gritted his teeth. He recalled the words of the master of the undying ocean and frowned. Without hesitation, he stepped into the void and rushed towards the land of endless frost. That silly girl. She had to hold on for master. After he left, Su Bing and the others in the Ice God Palace heaved a sigh of relief. That aura just now should be the Patriarch. Since the Patriarch has appeared and is heading towards the Sealed Land, the God Lord Ice God should be fine. A few months ago, a large number of void beasts suddenly appeared in the land of endless frost. The God Lord Ice God blocked all the void beasts by himself, but he did not allow them to get close. They had originally gone to the Tianma cult to look for the Patriarch. However, before they could stop the Tianma cult, they heard that the Patriarch had disappeared. Their hearts were instantly filled with despair. But now, the Patriarch had finally appeared. The God Lord Ice God should be saved. In the land of endless frost. When Ning Tian arrived, the land of endless frost was already in a mess. Even 3 of the 4 divine ice pillars that originally stood in the ice were broken. Only one was still standing in the ice. At the center of the land of endless frost, the door of ice was already open. There was also a familiar black aura coming from inside. That was the aura of chaos. Something actually happened here first. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's brows were tightly knitted together. Without any hesitation, she took a step forward and directly entered the large icy door. The chaotic aura within slowly flickered and became extremely dense. The seal here, it's not broken. After Ning Tian entered the land of endless frost, he looked around. The seal in the sky was still working perfectly. Although the seal's power was very strong, it seemed to have no effect at all. This is... Ning Tian looked around and his gaze fell on the ground. It was a wisp of black aura. This is the aura of chaos that was left behind after the void beast died. The black aura accumulated on the ground and reached a height of dozens of meters. It could be seen that what kind of terrifying battle had happened here. This girl always likes to take on everything by herself. She must have not grasped my essence. If she can't win, she should run. Ning Tian sighed deeply and said with a helpless tone. Although he said so, he did not blame Ling. He knew that Ling naturally knew the principle of running if she could not win. But this girl had already grown up. She was the god of ice. Behind her were the people of the southern frost starry ocean. If she ran away, the innocent people would be the ones to suffer. As the supreme god of the people of the southern frost starry ocean, she could not run away at the last minute. She could not let down the trust they had in her. In fact, Ning Tian was the same. I hope this girl is fine. Ning Tian let out a long sigh. Although he could not find any trace of Ling, the only good news was that there was no trace of her blood on the ground. At the very least, these void beasts that rushed out could not make things difficult for her. Suddenly, Ning Tian's gaze fell on a spot and a glint flashed in his eyes. He seemed to have found a clue. The spot where his gaze stopped. It was... Chapter 727. That huge ceiling array. This girl, could she have rushed into the ceiling array? Ning Tian furrowed his brows when he saw a ripple in the seal. A bad feeling rose in his heart. He hurriedly moved toward that spot and moved closer. Sure enough, it was because he saw the waves of energy fluctuations. This girl, he really King went in. Ling, if I catch you, I'll definitely whip your little butt until it's broken. After seeing the fluctuation, Ning Tian's mood turned bad. His face turned ugly. There were some unknown existences in this ceiling array. This girl was really not afraid of death. Damn, Ning Tian cursed. Then, spiritual energy shrouded his body. Without hesitation, he rushed towards the fluctuation. Boom, boom, boom. When he moved forward along the fluctuation of the ceiling array, he heard a series of explosions in his ears. He could vaguely hear screams, cries, despair, and various other strange sounds. But before he could listen carefully, he felt as if his body was being pulled. All of a sudden. Then, he arrived at another space. This is? Ning Tian held his aching forehead. The surrounding aura was constantly crushing his body, giving him a strong sense of oppression. His surroundings were dark red, causing him to be unable to see clearly. Fortunately, this is not the power of darkness. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to enter. Ning Tian breathed a sigh of relief. Since it was not the power of darkness, he was relieved. Presumably, that girl Ling was not that stupid. Boom. Woo-woo. Woo-woo-woo. At this moment, a mournful sound rang behind Ning Tian. He turned his head and saw a virtual beast that was dozens of meters in size appear in front of him. This is a virtual beast. Looking at the strange creature in front of him, Ning Tian felt goosebumps all over his body. The virtual beast in front of him was very strange. It had 4 arms and 8 legs. Its whole body was pitch black as if it was pieced together. But this was not the strangest thing. The strangest thing was that there was a pitch-black human face on its body, and the expression of the human face was one of despair. What the hell is this? Why did it become like this? Ning Tian frowned, but before he could study it, boom, a loud boom was heard, and a cold aura was vaguely felt in the air. It's that girl, Ling. Immediately, Ning Tian's eyes lit up. Just as he was about to move, the weeping void beast pounced over as if it was looking for death. It wanted to free itself from this sinful life. And the patriarch was a good person, so he helped it. Scram! Ning Tian roared. The sound waves reverberated. Boom! Instantly. At this moment, the body of the weeping void beast shattered into pieces, turning into dust and dissipating into the ground. This void beast was only about 10 meters long, and its strength was probably around the heavenly god realm. Now, Ning Tian could easily kill it with a single word. Killing it with a single word. Ning Tian did not stay for long, and his figure headed straight to the place where the spiritual aura came from. Along the way, in the black and red space, there were various void beasts charging over. But one by one, they were all killed by Ning Tian with a single word. Boom. At this moment, a terrifying aura shook violently. The entire black and red space trembled violently with the presence of this aura. This is, Ning Tian frowned. When the aura shook earlier, all the void beasts around him were turned into dust, and the black aura also headed in that direction. This should be something that fights with Ling. This thing is absorbing the energy of the surrounding void beasts. Ning Tian reacted quickly. His body moved, following the direction of the black aura, and he dashed toward that direction. When he arrived, in front of him, there was a black shadow that was tens of thousands of meters long. This is... Ning Tian's pupils shrank. This thing was definitely an ancient god at the sovereign realm. How many void beasts had it absorbed? And this thing was a huge black shadow that flashed through the ceiling formation after they left. Chapter 683. How dare you? Disperse. At this moment, a delicate shout rang out. Cold light appeared in the sky, and it turned into countless ice blades that appeared behind Ling. Then, she waved her small hand, and the countless ice blades charged toward the huge black shadow. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, rays of cold light flashed. All of them directly pierced into the black mist. Explode. The word ice came out from Ling's mouth. Boom, 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 boom. When the countless ice blades pierced into the black mist, the surrounding cold light flashed, and an endless amount of energy was condensed, and it directly exploded on the body of the black mist. Boom. A series of explosions rang out continuously. One could see that the energy that the black mist had just absorbed from the void beasts dissipated once again. Roar. A furious roar was emitted from the enormous black figure. What a strong vitality! Seeing that this move did not cause any substantial damage to the black shadow, Ling frowned. A cold light flashed in her eyes, and a faint trace of blood could be seen at the corner of her mouth. She had actually suffered a minor injury in the battle with this huge shadow. One could imagine how difficult it was to deal with this thing. Boom. Roar. At this moment, countless tentacles reached out from the black mist and swept toward Ling. At the same time, Ling was already used to it. She held the ice blades in her hand tightly, and when those tentacles attacked her, they were all instantly cut off. However, at this moment, boom, an aura exploded behind her. A black mist came charging toward her from behind. This void beast, it actually has another way of attacking. Could it be that the void beast can continuously evolve while devouring? Ling frowned. She was just about to intervene when a raging flame appeared. Immediately, it enveloped the black fog and directly incinerated it. Huh, is this the heavenly fire? Master? Sensing the sudden presence of the heavenly fire law, Ling was stunned for a moment, and then she suddenly reacted. After she finished speaking, a black-clothed figure slowly appeared behind her. You little girl, how bold. You actually dared to enter the seal alone. You're really not afraid of death. Ning Tian did not even think about having a touching master and disciple relationship with this girl. He only wanted to give this silly girl a good scolding. Didn't master still come in? Ling curled her lips. Nonsense. If you weren't inside, I wouldn't be so stupid as to enter such an unknown place. Ning Tian rolled his eyes at her. When she heard this, although Ling did not say anything, her heart felt warm. At this moment, Ling seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said to Ning Tian, Master, you're weaker. You should leave first. I'll deal with this guy. Chapter 728. Why? Are you looking down on me? Ning Tian snorted coldly as his gaze landed on the black fog. I'm not the same as I was a year ago. Let's deal with it together. Master and disciple, let's work together and kill this disgusting thing. Ling nodded heavily as she couldn't help but look forward to it. This was the first time she and her master were working together against an enemy. At the side, the huge black fog slowly sent out a question mark. You guys ignored me for half a day and made me eat some weird food. Now, you guys want to work together to kill me? Roar. Roar. At this moment, the enormous black fog beast was enraged. It roared a few times, and the black fog around its body condensed and charged towards Ning Tian and Lu Xian. Master, this is the black fog beast. It devoured the energy of many void beasts, and it's tens of thousands of meters in size. I'm afraid it's already at the level of a 3-star sovereign. This is its territory. My power will be suppressed. Be careful. Ling hurriedly warned when she saw the attack of the black fog foe beast charging over. It will be suppressed? Ning Tian frowned. Although Ling said it would be suppressed, he didn't feel anything. Could it be the existence of the chaos breath? Thinking of this, Ning Tian directly used the power of the chaos breath. In an instant, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Like a fish in water, his aura reached its peak. Boom. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. The black mist that was charging towards him instantly dissipated without a trace. Lass, it seems like this place will become my battlefield. You should admire your master's handsome figure. Haha. Feeling the existence of this power, Ning Tian couldn't help but laugh. He directly launched an attack at the black fog void beast. Boom. Palm after palm. They continuously landed on the black fog beast's body. Boom. Boom. Seeing this, Ling was stunned for a moment as her beautiful eyes landed on Ning Tian. After listening to his words, she looked at him seriously and smiled. You're indeed very handsome. After her voice faded, her delicate figure moved as well, and she directly charged towards the foe beast. When the two of them joined forces, they immediately dealt a heavy blow to the black fog void beast, both physically and mentally. Roar. Therefore, the black fog void beast was furious. A terrifying cold light. They began to move violently in all directions. Boom. In an instant, cold light flickered around them. Ning Tian and Ling Yu's ice law surged, and endless cold light surged around them. Kacha, Kacha. The surrounding air froze at this moment. Spirit. Since this disgusting thing can absorb the energy of the void beasts in the surroundings, let's give it something strong inside. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly as he looked at Ling with a smile. Yes. As Ning Tian's outstanding disciple, Ling naturally knew what Ning Tian meant. She immediately nodded, and their ice laws quietly spread out. Boom. Cold light flickered. Ning Tian took the lead and launched an attack. He directly landed a heavy punch on the body of the black fog void beast. The power of this punch also contained the existence of the chaotic aura. Instantly, it caused critical damage to the black fog void beast. Boom. The existence of the chaotic aura seemed to be able to affect the void beast. The punch landed. The black fog void beast suddenly cried out in pain. Even the black light on its body dissipated by a lot. It seems that the chaotic aura can eliminate part of the void beast's energy. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian instantly understood. Wasn't this because the strength of the black fog void beast would be weakened by his punches one by one? Wasn't this equivalent to him becoming stronger while the black fog void beast became weaker? This matter, Ning Tian was familiar with it. As expected, under the continuous punches, the black fog void beast's body became smaller and smaller. Throughout the process, Ling was waiting for the right opportunity. This was because she wanted the next strong material. Roar, roar, roar. As expected, as it became smaller and smaller, the black fog void beast's body trembled and suddenly roared, following which a terrifying suction force erupted from its body. It seemed that it was going to absorb the energy of the surrounding void beasts. Ling, are you ready? Seeing this scene, Ning Tian hurriedly roared. Yes, master. Ling nodded slightly. Then, let's give this fellow a strong material. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly. A strange force spread out from his hand toward the surrounding void beasts. At the same time, Ling also quietly retreated. The two of them were ready to watch a good show. Boom. As expected, when its energy was continuously reduced by Ning Tian, the black fog void beast finally couldn't hold back anymore. It spread out in all directions and absorbed the energy of the surrounding void beasts. However, its IQ was almost negative 250. It didn't know that the two bad masters and bad disciples had already given it a strong material. Boom. Roar. Gulp. 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 After the black fog illusionary beast absorbed all the surrounding energy, it immediately sensed that something was amiss. Its stomach continuously emitted a strange gurgling sound. Its stomach seemed to be overturning rivers and seas. Huh, Ling, the strong material that you gave it wouldn't be a cold laxative, right? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. Yes. What about you, master? Ling nodded and then asked. Me too. Ning Tian's lips lifted into a smile. The two of them looked at each other with tacit understanding. You're indeed my master. You're indeed my disciple. In that case, let's take a good look at the pitiful black fog void beast that has consumed double the amount of frigid laxatives. Let's see if it will be able to do so. Ning Tian looked at the black fog void beast kindly. Chapter 729. Boom. When the black fog void beast swallowed the surrounding void beasts, its body, which had been shrunk by Ning Tian, instantly returned to its original size. Terrifying power surged in its body again. Roar. When its power recovered, the black fog void beast roared at Ning Tian and Spirit. It seemed to be talking to Ning Tian and Spirit. Come on. If you have the ability, come and fight me. However, this pair of bad master and disciple did not move at all. They just crossed their arms and looked at it calmly. They did not seem to want to fight at all. They just wanted to watch a good show. Just like what Ning Tian had said, if they could watch their opponent die, why should they fight? Roar? When the black fog void beast saw that the two people in front of it did not attack, it could not help but roar in confusion. It then decided to take the initiative to attack. The surrounding black fog was shrouded and a huge aura was gradually released. Boom, boom. However, just as the black fog void beast was about to attack, there was a series of roars from its body. Then, it let out a confused low roar and a powerful aura was released from its chrysanthemum. The black fog void beast's body was full of energy that it had absorbed. When it released the energy, it was the energy that it was releasing. Boom, boom. In an instant, a burst of aura erupted from the black fog void beast's anus. Its huge body was like a deflated balloon as it continuously shrunk. All of the void beast's energy had already poured out. Moreover, the most important thing was, this pair of bad master and disciple were very bad. They were not just using laxatives, they were using cold laxatives. However, when the aura was released, it spread to the surroundings. At this moment, the cold energy contained within it also spread to the surroundings with the help of the aura. In an instant, the surrounding void beasts were all frozen. In other words, the black fog void beast could no longer use the same trick to absorb the surrounding energy. This bit of shocking material is indeed shocking. Looking at this scene, Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. This way, not only could he easily defeat the black fog void beast, but he could also get rid of a large number of void beasts in the surroundings. This was killing two birds with one stone. Why not? Ling nodded, feeling a little excited. This was the first time he had fought alongside his master. Although the moves were very serious in their own words, it was not too much to ask for. On the other hand, the black fog beast was like a deflated balloon. In the blink of an eye, it was only tens of meters in size. However, this size was enough for Ning Tian to wipe it out with a lift of his hand. Are you still begging me to *CK you? Ning Tian looked at the black mist void beast mockingly and raised his hand slowly. Roar. The black fog beast immediately trembled. It wanted to head towards the depths of the black-red space, but escaping from Ning Tian in its current state was simply wishful thinking. When Ning Tian's large hand fell, a wave of aura instantly suppressed the black fog beast's body. Boom. In an instant, as Chu Feng's power surged forth, the black fog formed by the black fog void beast immediately disappeared without a trace. Upon closer inspection, one could see that there was an item flickering with black light within the black fog. What is that? Although the black light flashed by, Ning Tian's eyesight naturally did not miss it. He frowned slightly. With a flash, he appeared at the place where the black light was flickering and looked at it. It was a stone flickering with black light. There was a faint black aura on the stone. This stone was left behind by the black fog void beast after it disappeared. Master, this should be the void beast crystal. At the side, Ling also came over. Looking at the strange stone flickering with black light before her, she could not help but speak. Void beast crystal? Hearing that, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and looked over. This black aura. It did not seem to be the aura of chaos, but demonic aura? Demonic aura? Could it be that this black fog void beast was a demonic beast before it was devoured? Although it's chaotic on the outside, it's the purest demonic heart on the inside. Ning Tian frowned slightly and muttered. If this was the demonic heart, it would be a good thing for him. This item was destined to be with him. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly. With a wave of his hand, he kept the black demonic heart stone and took out the Buddha demon tower. He wanted to see if the demonic heart stone that was engulfed by the chaos would be absorbed by the Buddha demon tower. The fact was, the Buddha demon tower did not seem to be a picky eater. However, when Ning Tian deliberately let it absorb the energy, it really slowly absorbed the energy above. However, although there was such a huge amount of energy, the Buddha demon tower did not increase. Was it not infuriating? The first two levels are very easy to open. However, the later levels are indifferent. Could it be? Is the energy here not enough to support its opening? Ning Tian frowned, and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. The most important thing was, darkness was coming. However, only 2 levels of the Buddha demon tower had been opened. There were still 10 levels that had not been opened. It was not that Ning Tian did not want to open it. It was that he could not open it. In other words, there was not enough energy to open it. He even had a premonition that even if all the demonic energy in the mysterious sky continent was supplied to the Buddha Demon Tower, it would not be able to open it. Could it be the existence of the Buddha Demon Tower itself was not born in the mysterious sky continent? Could it be that it was born in a higher place? The power of the mysterious sky continent alone is not enough to open it. In other words, opening 2 or 3 levels is enough to deal with the dark chaos in the mysterious sky continent. Ning Tian frowned. In his mind, various thoughts flashed through his body. Finally, he came to a very terrifying conclusion. The Buddha Demon Tower, it might not be a product of the mysterious sky continent. In other words, there was no limit in the universe. Ning Tian did not feel that this was too much. After all, even his existence was, in a sense, a guest from another world. It seemed that the splendor of the mysterious sky continent, or the splendor of the entire world, did not stop here. However, to him, the current issue was the dark chaos that could destroy the entire mysterious sky continent. Ling, let's go to the depths of this space. I need these demon heart stones. Ning Tian was silent for a moment before he said to Ling, okay? If Master wants to go, I will go with you. Ling nodded slightly without any hesitation. Ning Tian chuckled when she heard this. She moved and headed towards the deepest part of the mountain. Ling followed closely behind her, not leaving her side at all. In the sealed space, the deepest part was still a sea of black and red. The surrounding void beasts were constantly attacking them. However, not every void beast had a demon heart stone. After all, these void beasts were not just demons before they were devoured by the darkness. Chapter 730. This sealed space seems to be endless. After several hours, Ling Lu frowned slightly and could not help but say, with their current strength, they should have been able to fly from the southern Frost Star Ocean to the Sky Devil region in several hours. However, they still hadn't reached the end of the sealed space. Could it be the sealed space was bigger than the entire divine region? No, it's a kind of spatial array. However, Ning Tian shook her head, as if she had seen through something. Among them, it should be an unknown spatial array. It used the power of space to expand the sealed space. It seemed endless, but it was actually just the power of space. A spatial array? Spirit asked. However, she didn't know anything about spatial arrays. The law of heaven and earth she had mastered was only the law of ice. Yes. Let's go back. I wonder if the several hundred demon heart stones can help the Buddha Demon Pagoda improve. Ning Tian didn't explain anything. After all, this was an unknown spatial array. He didn't know anything about it. At this moment, he already had several hundred demon heart stones in his storage ring. It was still endless. They didn't know what they would find if they continued forward. They might as well give up. Yes. Spirit put away the ice blade in her hand and nodded. The two of them turned around and traveled for a few hours. When they turned back, Ning Tian also paid special attention to the trajectory of the space here, but she didn't seem to have discovered anything. In front of them was the exit. Several minutes later, the two came out of the sealed space. After coming out of the sealed space, Spirit heaved a sigh of relief and patted her chest. We're finally out of that place. That annoying suppressive aura is finally gone. Beside them, Ning Tian took out the Buddha Demon Pagoda and took out the several hundred demon heart stones. He let the demon pagoda absorb the energy within. However, several minutes later, the several hundred demon heart stones turned into torrential demonic energy and were all absorbed by the Buddha Demon Pagoda. However, even after consuming several hundred demon heart stones, the third floor of the Buddha Demon Pagoda didn't show any signs of loosening. These several hundred devil heart stones, even a single layer of the seal is unable to loosen it. Exactly what kind of existence is the pagoda of Buddha? Seeing this scene, Ning Tian frowned, a trace of doubt flashing in his eyes. Master, are these demon heart stones not enough? Then, do you want me to go in and find some for you? Seeing this, Spirit said, Oh, little girl, you still want to go in? Hearing Ling's words, Ning Tian silently put away the Buddha demon pagoda. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Ling. Can't I? At this moment, Ling did not realize the seriousness of the matter. She blinked her eyes and was stunned for a moment before she asked, "What do you think?" "Spirit, do you know what I said before I entered this sealed space?" Ning Tian chuckled gently. A kind smile appeared on his face as he approached Ling silently. What words? At this moment, Ling finally realized the severity of the situation. But at this moment, she could not escape even if she wanted to, because Ning Tian had already grabbed her hand. Master, what did you say?" Ling asked cautiously. Master said, "If I catch you, little girl, I'm going to whip your ass." Ning Tian sneered and looked in a direction. Ling widened her eyes. Although Ning Tian had grabbed her hand, she still used the other hand to protect her pitiful little butt. She then gritted her teeth and said, "Master, I'm no longer a child now. I'm the ice god. Ouch, ice your head." However, before Ling could finish her words, Ning Tian knocked her little head and rolled his eyes at her. Then, he formed a chair with the power of space and sat on it, placing Ling on his lap. "I don't care if you're the ice god or what. You're the ice god in their eyes, but in my eyes you're just Ling, so you won't be able to escape this beating." As soon as his voice faded, Ning Tian did not hesitate. He raised his hand and slapped Ling's little butt. However, Ling seemed to have the last bit of stubbornness. "Wait." She let out a cry. Little girl, you still want to beg for mercy?" Ning Tian stopped and raised his eyebrows. "Spanking? Don't you have to take off your pants? I saw those mothers hitting their children. They're all." Ling blushed and her voice became softer and softer. In the end, it was almost like a mosquito. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned. Indeed, when those mothers punished their disobedient children, they would put the children on their laps and take off their pants. Then, they would give them a good beating. But Ling was no longer a child. "Cough. We're different, so let's cut the crap." Ning Tian coughed dryly. "Oh." Ling seemed a little disappointed. Ning Tian had already raised his hand. Smack, 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 smack. In the land sealed by the endless frost, several crisp voices echoed continuously. Ning Tian did not really slap Ling's little butt. After all, to slap the butt of an ancient god sovereign, it was a little difficult. Moreover, he could not bear to do so. So, he just gave a few symbolic slaps and let go of her. "Little girl, don't be so impulsive next time." Ning Tian coughed dryly and said, "Oh." "Oh." Ling muttered softly. She curled her lips and muttered something. "Why is it over so quickly?" Hearing this, Ning Tian could not help but cough dryly. Shit, there was something wrong with this little girl. All right, let's leave here and return to the Ice God Palace. Ning Tian glanced at her surroundings. The seal of the endless frigid lands was indeed undamaged. However, it could no longer withstand the darkness that was about to arrive. There was no longer any meaning in staying here. "No, I want to stay here and guard the seal." However, this time, surprisingly, Ling did not listen. She shook her head, a stubborn look on her face. "You little girl." Seeing this scene, Ning Tian suddenly felt a headache. Ling, this little girl, was indeed unbelievably stubborn. No matter what he said, there was nothing he could do. So, he could not be bothered to say anything more to her. He just waved at her. "Ling, come here." What's wrong, master?" Ling frowned and leaned over. "Nothing. It's just..." Ning Tian waved his hand and leaned over. Just as he was about to say something, he raised his blade and knocked Ling unconscious. This little girl did not suspect him at all. She was not on guard at all. Even an ancient god sovereign could easily kill her. Chapter 731. Sigh. What the hell is this? Ning Tian held his forehead helplessly and carried the unconscious Ling on his shoulder. It was a waste of time to talk to this stubborn girl. Plus, this place was extremely unstable. He couldn't waste any more time. So, He chose the most direct and violent way, which was to knock Ling out. He would take Ling away from here first. If there was anything else, he would leave first. Although the seal is still here, the power of the dark turmoil seems to have started to seep in. It seems the Ice God Palace has to stay here. Ning Tian looked around and frowned. He originally wanted to take the Ice God Palace into the Tim occult, but looking at this scene, it was impossible to realize this idea. Unexpectedly, the first place to be eroded by the dark turmoil was the southern ice starry sea. Let's go, Ning Tian murmured and left the place sealed by the endless cold. He had once risked his life to guard the place, but at a certain point, he had no choice but to give it up. Ice God Palace. Boom. In the sky, a roar sounded. This instantly attracted the attention of countless people in the divine Ice City. When they looked up into the sky, they saw a figure stepping out of the void. On his shoulder, there seemed to be a slender figure. Is that the ancestral master? The ancestral master is carrying the ice god. Could it be the ice god is injured? The moment they saw Ning Tian, everyone in Ice God City was originally ecstatic. However, in the next second, their expressions changed. Worry flashed through their eyes. The ancestral master had returned, but he had returned with Lord Ice God on his back. Could it be even the ice goddess was severely injured? At this moment, everyone in the Ice God City was worried. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, there was the sound of something breaking through the air. Elder Su Bing and the other two, as well as a group of strong cultivators from the Ice God Palace, appeared in the sky. They looked at Ning Tian gravely. Elder Su Bing hurriedly spoke. Ancestral Master, the Ice God is, at this moment. Elder Su Bing and the other two looked solemn. The cultivators of the Ice God Palace behind them and all the cultivators of the Ice God City were trembling. They didn't dare to imagine what would happen to the entire southern ice star ocean if something happened to the Ice God. I'm fine. Under everyone's gazes, Ning Tian shook his head and said calmly, Ling is fine. I just knocked him out. As soon as he said that, the entire Ice God City fell into a dead silence. Then, there were many intelligent gazes filled with question marks. Patriarch knocked Lord Ice God unconscious? The F***CK? Wait, I'm sure it's hitting, not doing. Damn, don't hit me. I didn't mean what you think. What I meant was, a real man shouldn't hit the face. Please. You're courting death. How dare you insult Lord Ice God? Beat him up. Aya. Below. After hearing that Lord Ice God had only been knocked unconscious by the Patriarch, the group of cultivators heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that Lord Ice God was fine. Elder Su Bing looked at Ning Tian with a strange expression. As expected of the Patriarch, a master who knocked out his own disciple. As expected of you. If it wasn't for the fact that Elder Su Bing and the others knew that Ning Tian wouldn't have any ill intentions towards Ling, the three elders would have fought Ning Tian to the death. You have shocked Elder Su Bing and the other two. Acquired impregnable city wall. A defensive array. At this moment, in his mind, the system's voice sounded. Impregnable city wall? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. Could this thing resist the chaos of darkness? No. In his mind, the system came out for a long time to enhance its presence. What can it do? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Although it can't resist the incoming darkness, it can resist the black tide that just attacked. The system said lightly. Just attacked. The black tide? Ning Tian had some doubts in his mind, but the system didn't explain too much. Let's send Ling back to the Ice God Palace first and then slowly study it. After thinking for a while, Ning Tian didn't have an answer. He simply carried Ling back to the Ice God Palace first and then study this black tide later. Although everyone in the Ice God City saw that the Ice God had returned safely, their brows were still tightly knitted. In the past few months, they had seen the changes in the entire southern ice star ocean and had a bad feeling in their hearts. Ice God Palace. In the palace, Ning Tian put down Ling on his shoulder and let her sit on the throne. Patriarch. What the hell is going on? In the eyes of Elder Su Bing and the other two, The entire palace was filled with the experts of the Ice God Palace. Well, let's wait for this girl to wake up and then we'll talk about it. Ning Tian glanced at Ling and said lightly. Hearing that, Elder Su Bing and the others had no choice but to wait for the Ice God to wake up. Might as well. Ning Tian didn't use too much force. She only wanted to make her fall into a temporary coma. So, after about 10 minutes, Ling, who had her eyes tightly shut, regained some consciousness. Her long eyelashes fluttered, and she gradually woke up. Ling opened her eyes and was still a bit confused. Girl, you're awake? This is the Ice God Palace, your home. Ning Tian, who was sitting beside her, took a bite of an apple and said indifferently. Master? Ice God Palace? No, I have to guard that seal. Ling subconsciously glanced at Ning Tian, and after hearing his words, her whole body trembled and was about to step into the void. Fortunately, Ning Tian reacted quickly and pressed her on the throne. Girl, you don't even listen to your master? Ning Tian didn't say anything else. She only said one sentence indifferently. After she finished speaking, she released her hand. Her expression was as if she was telling him to leave if he didn't want to listen. Seeing Ning Tian like this, Ling hesitated for a moment and sat on the throne obediently, not daring to go. As expected of the ancestral master, in this world, I'm afraid only the ancestral master can make the ice god so obedient. Below, Elder Su Bing and the others looked at her with respect. Girl, I know what you want to do. Seeing that Ling had quieted down, Ning Tian slowly opened his mouth to speak. He glanced at the girl and said indifferently, although the seal is still intact, you can also sense that the power of darkness is already able to ignore the seal, right? Hearing that, Ling didn't say anything and just nodded. So, little girl, you want to rely on your own strength to resist the dark chaos for the people of the southern frost star sea? Ning Tian shook his head helplessly. He placed his hand on Ling's head and rubbed it. Even if you are the ice god, you can't face the dark turmoil alone with your strength. You have to rely on yourself, not just me, but everyone in the southern frost star sea. Chapter 732. That's right, Lord Ice God. As long as you say the word, even if the darkness attacks, this old man dares to rush to the front. I think not only the Ice God Palace, but most of the cultivators in the southern frost star ocean will fight for you, as long as you say the word. You've protected your people for millions of years, but now, we can also fight for you. On the side, Elder Su Bing said slowly. Beside her, the cultivators of the Ice God Palace all looked at Ling sincerely and nodded heavily. When they heard that the Lord Ice God wanted to block the darkness for them alone, they were touched and helpless. Ling was silent for a moment and didn't say anything. Girl, staying in the sealed lands is an act of seeking death. The seal is no longer of any use. Now that the guardians of the 4 great sealed lands have retreated, I do not wish for you to remain there. Or, I don't want you to die. Do you understand? Ning Tian looked at Ling and said seriously, Master. Ling paused for a moment and smiled bitterly. It seems that if I persist like this, Master will have a headache. It's not just a headache. I'm about to die from anger. Ning Tian rolled his eyes at her. Then I won't go. Ling's words finally made Ning Tian breathe a sigh of relief. Then, he looked at the cultivators of the Ice God Palace with a serious expression and said slowly, Everyone, if I'm not wrong, darkness is coming. Darkness is coming. Hearing this, Elder Su Bing and the other cultivators of the Ice God Palace all had serious expressions. They naturally knew what this sentence meant. It was a kind of term. The darkness will once again cover the entire mysterious sky continent. And, if I'm not wrong, the first place to be blocked by the darkness will probably be the southern frost star ocean. Ning Tian frowned and said again. Hearing this, in the hall, everyone was silent. Their expressions were ugly, but they didn't seem surprised. It seemed the master of the undying ocean wasn't the only one who sensed the recent fluctuations in the southern ice star ocean. The experts of the Ice God Palace also heard about it. They were already mentally prepared. How about, let's move out of the southern frost star sea before darkness arrives? At this moment, an expert in the ice god palace asked tentatively. No. Elder Sealing shook her head. There are so many people in the southern frost star ocean. Even if they were to leave, where would they go? Moreover, many people have already adapted to the icy cold environment of the southern frost star ocean. Leaving at this time is undoubtedly courting death. This can only be a last resort. Elder Subing was indeed the analysis master of the Ice God Palace. Her analysis was very organized. Indeed, moving out could only be a last resort. You can escape now, but you can't escape forever. Even if we can escape, the chaos of darkness will engulf the entire profound sky world sooner or later. If we can't escape, we can only face it. Perhaps this is fate. Ning Tian shook his head and said slowly, "Then what should we do? Dark turmoil? Is there really a way to stop it? Darkness is coming. Profound sky will be destroyed." Sigh. Inside the Ice God Palace, there was more despair and anxiety. Darkness is coming. There was nothing they could do. Master, do you have any ideas? Ling was still calm at this moment. She looked at Ning Tian and asked, "Ideas? I haven't thought of any for now." Ning Tian frowned and shook his head. Even the ancestral master has thought of a way to deal with it. Sigh. Hearing that, the people from the Ice God Palace felt even more hopeless. However, even though they felt hopeless, they would still sacrifice their lives for the Ice God without hesitation. Although I don't have a solution, but I have a move that can stop it. Perhaps it can stop the black tide before the chaos of darkness arrives. Just as everyone was in despair, Ning Tian's voice sounded again. A move that can stop it? Ancestral Master, what move is it? Elder Su Bing and the others hurriedly asked. You'll know when the time comes. Ning Tian kept them in suspense. He looked at Elder Su Bing and the others and ordered, Elder Su Bing, help me find the toughest ore in the entire southern ice star ocean. Remember, I want the toughest one. The toughest ore, I understand. Ancestral Master, please wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. Elder Su Bing paused for a moment. Then he seemed to have thought of something and walked out of the palace. A few minutes later, when Elder Su Bing rushed back to the palace, he still had a few blue ice crystals in his hand. Ancestral Master, this is the ice crystal ore in the southern ice star ocean. It should be the toughest ore in the entire southern ice star ocean. There are countless supra-divine items made from it. Elder Su Bing picked up one and handed it to Ning Tian. Ice crystal ore, this ore is indeed very tough. Looking at the ore in his hand, Ning Tian frowned and murmured. However, he didn't come to a conclusion. The ice crystal ore was indeed tough, but vaguely, he felt that something was missing. This is not the toughest ore in the southern ice star ocean. At this moment, Ling glanced indifferently at the ice crystal ore in Ning Tian's hand and shook her head in denial. Lord Ice God, this is indeed the toughest ore in the entire southern ice star ocean. Hearing Lord Ice God's words, Elder Su Bing frowned and couldn't help but feel confused. Based on his many years of experience and knowledge, this ice crystal ore should be the toughest ore. This is only the toughest ore you've seen, Elder Su Bing. Ling glanced at Elder Su Bing and then looked at Ning Tian. Master, the truly tough ore in the southern ice star ocean is in the deepest part of the Undying Sea. It's called the Undying Bluestone. The supra-divine item made from that ore can even block the attack of an ancient god. Block the attack of an ancient god? Hearing this, in the main hall, the experts of the Ice God Palace couldn't help but be shocked. If that was the case, then it was indeed much tougher than the ice crystal ore and perfectly met the ancestral master's requirements. However, that was the Undying Sea, another superpower. How could they let them take the Undying Bluestone so easily? Don't worry about the Undying Sea. That guy is scared to death of the dark turmoil. Just scare him a little, and he should obediently hand over the Undying Bluestone. While everyone was worried, Ning Tian said with a chuckle, he met the master of the Undying Sea before. That guy seemed to be scared of the dark turmoil. If this Undying Bluestone could be used against the black tide, he shouldn't refuse the Ice God Palace's request. After all, If they could stop the dark turmoil, it would be beneficial to the master of the undying sea. Chapter 733. Really? Elder Su Bing and the other's eyes lit up. Of course. Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly. After hearing Ning Tian's words, Ling didn't hesitate and ordered Elder Su Bing. Elder Su Bing, go to the Undying Sea and tell the Master of the Undying Sea about this. Yes, Master Ice God. Elder Su Bing nodded and took a step forward toward the Undying Sea. Next, we just need to wait for the Master of the Undying Sea to transport the Undying Bluestone. Ning Tian murmured. Everyone in the hall began to look forward to it. While Elder Su Bing went to the Undying Sea, Ning Tian told everyone about his plan. He would use the system's reward, impregnable city wall, to surround the entire frozen land with the Undying Bluestone. When the black current attacked, it would definitely spread in all directions. No matter how many Undying Bluestone there were, it wouldn't be enough for him to use impregnable city wall. Therefore, he might as well use it at the location of the black current to block it. However, there was a slight risk in doing so. The black current's power would be very strong and ordinary oars wouldn't be able to withstand it. Therefore, Ning Tian asked Elder Su Bing to find the toughest oars. An hour later, boom! Above the Ice God Palace, there was a sound that broke the void. The Master of the Undying Sea is here too? Ning Tian frowned and moved out of the hall. Ling and the others followed behind. They saw, above the Ice God Palace, the void had been broken. In the sky, other than Elder Su Bing, there was a figure that was made of pitch-black seawater. It was the Master of the Undying Sea. It is indeed the Master of the Undying Sea. When they saw this figure, the Ice God Palace's experts all had serious expressions. This was the only super expert in the Southern Frost Star Ocean who could fight with the Master Ice God. Ancestor, Ice God. The Undying Ocean Master nodded at the two of them. He ignored the others and went straight to the point. Ancestor, is it really as this old man said? The Undying Limestone can stop the dark turmoil? His tone was a little anxious. It was as if he was grasping at the last straw. Wrong. It's the first dark tide of the dark turmoil, not the dark turmoil. Ning Tian calmly looked at the Undying Ocean Lord and said calmly, don't treat this Undying Green Stone as a trump card. It won't be able to block the chaos of the darkness. If the Undying Bluestone could really resist the dark turmoil, the Undying Ocean Lord would not hand it over so easily. Instead, he would treat it as his last straw of hope. But unfortunately, the immortal Bluestone could only resist the black tide, and it still had to rely on Ning Tian's means. Hearing this, the Master of the Undying Ocean fell silent, and the gleam in his eyes slowly dissipated. It seemed like Ning Tian was right. This guy did have that kind of thought. The black tide is fine too. It can give us some time to react. He muttered in his heart. Then, he looked at Ning Tian. Ancestor, how many Undying Bluestones do you need? 30,000. Ning Tian pondered for a moment and said slowly, 15,000 of them could be used to resist the dark tide with solid as a city wall. The remaining 15,000 could be used to forge armors for the people of the Tianma cult. It could even be used to create a super divine tool. It was definitely a profit. 30,000? Hearing this, the Undying Ocean Lord was dumbfounded. Ancestor, 30,000. I'm afraid I can't take it out. My Undying Ocean only has a few thousand. A bitter smile appeared on the Undying Ocean Master's face. He sighed. There are indeed a lot of Undying Bluestone mines in the Undying Ocean, but they are all sealed by an ancient seal. We can't open it. Only the real key can open it. An ancient seal. Ning Tian frowned. This was an urgent matter. No one knew when the black tide would descend. The solid as a city wall must be built as soon as possible. Can you take me to have a look? Ning Tian looked at the Undying Ocean Lord. The Undying Ocean Lord fell silent. After a while, he said, there are a lot of secrets of my race in the Undying Ocean. But, since things have come to this, forget it. Ancestor, you and Lord Ice God can come with me to the Undying Ocean. Okay. Ning Tian did not hesitate. Ancestor, be careful, Elder Su Bing hurriedly said. No one had been to the Undying Sea before. If the master of the Undying Sea was trying to trick them and something happened to the ancestor and Lord Ice Goddess, the consequences would be unimaginable. No need to worry. If the Undying Ocean Lord dares to make a move, Ling and I will kill him. Even if we can't defeat him, with the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace, the Demon God Domain, the Tim Occult, the Fire Domain, and many other ancient gods, it should be easy to kill him. Am I right, Undying Ocean Lord? Ning Tian looked at the Undying Ocean Lord indifferently. The Undying Ocean Lord, this was simply a conspiracy. Moreover, this kind of lineup was 2F asterisk King terrifying. Cough, ancestor, don't worry. I have lived for so long. I am not that stupid. The Undying Ocean Lord coughed and said slowly. He had lived for so long. How could he be so stupid to give up everything he had? It's good that you know. Ning Tian glanced at the Undying Ocean Lord indifferently. Let's go. Okay. Soon, in the sky, the 3 of them stepped into the void, leaving the people of the Ice God Palace in anticipation. The Undying Ocean. 3 figures stepped out from the void. The surface of the ocean was calm, and there was no wind. The water was pitch black, as if it was a sea of death. This was not the first time Ning Tian entered the Undying Ocean. When the space-time law appeared, the first place he came to was the Undying Ocean. But at that time, the Undying Ocean was not pitch black. After 1,000,000 years, there was less life in it. Although this is called the Undying Ocean, it is better to call it the Dead Ocean. After all, there are no living creatures in it. Those that are alive might as well not be alive. Looking at the pitch-black ocean, the Undying Ocean Lord laughed at himself. Then, he shook his head and looked at Ning Tian and Ling Ancestor. Ice God, let's go in. As soon as his voice faded, he turned into a pool of pitch-black water and rushed toward the Undying Ocean below. Seeing this, Ning Tian and Ling also followed. Splash! The 3 figures rushed into the ocean, but there was only a subtle sound. The entire ocean became deathly silent again. Even when the 3 of them entered, there was no movement on the surface of the ocean. It was terrifyingly quiet. In the Undying Ocean, the water was pitch black, blocking one's vision. Fortunately, Ning Tian and Ling were ancient god experts. Even if their vision was blocked, they could still use their divine consciousness to sense their surroundings. Chapter 734. The Pitch-Black Seawater. The biggest difference between this place and the endless ocean of the firmament territory was that the former was dead silent and gave off a strong sense of oppression. On the other hand, the latter was dark and no different from ordinary seawater. Ancestral Master, Ice God. The seawater here is extremely corrosive to spirit energy. Be careful. In front of them, the Undying Ocean Lord, who had turned into a pool of pitch-black seawater, turned around and said to the 2 of them. When he turned around, he saw Ning Tian holding Ling's hand and preparing to resist the seawater around them. Ancestral Master, have you been to the Undying Ocean before? Seeing this scene, the Undying Ocean Lord asked instinctively. No, this is my first time here. I only sensed the abnormality around me. Ning Tian's tone was calm. He did not admit that he had been here before. The first time he came here, he had arrived at this place inexplicably. Such shocking senses. The Undying Ocean Lord could not help but sigh. Undying Ocean Lord, why does the Undying Ocean forbid anyone from entering? Ning Tian probed the surroundings with his divine consciousness and could not help but ask. Because the Undying Ocean contains everything about my clan. I don't want anyone to see it. The Undying Ocean Lord was silent for a moment before he slowly said, Moreover, there are a large number of undying bluestones in the Undying Ocean. They are extremely important resources for us in the Undying Ocean. But there are often thieves who dive into the ocean to steal the undying bluestones. 1,000,000 years ago, there was a bastard who frequently dived into the Undying Ocean to steal the undying bluestones. He used the undying bluestones to exchange for money. He said he was going to find a rich woman. Damn it. If I find him, I will definitely kill him. The undying ocean lord was somewhat angry as he finished speaking. Hearing this, the two people behind him fell silent at the same time. The corners of Ning Tian's and Ling's mouths twitched. They seemed to know who this fellow who stole the undying limestone was. Stealing the undying limestone to exchange for money and saying that he was going to find a rich woman. It could only be that fellow, Qin Luo. Haha, that's right, it's me. On the other hand, Ning Tian finally knew why Qin Luo was by his side when he appeared in the Undying Sea. His beloved father-in-law was probably stealing the undying bluestone at that time. I'm afraid, even if you were to encounter him now, you might not necessarily be able to defeat him, Ning Tian said quietly. The current Qin Luo, who had lived for 1,000,000 years, was terrifyingly powerful. After all, he was the god of scolding, and his mouth was the strongest. Patriarch knows him? Hearing this, the undying ocean master was stunned. No, I don't. Ning Tian pursed his lips. Who would know a great thief? Upon hearing Ning Tian's words, the master of the Undying Sea did not say anything. He turned around and led the two of them towards the sealed area in the Undying Sea. As they ventured deeper into the Undying Sea, the surrounding seawater possessed a powerful spiritual energy corrosion ability. Furthermore, stronger and stronger. What a strong corrosive power. Ling Lu frowned slightly. A hint of seriousness flashed across his eyes. I think the seawater should contain the power of darkness and chaos, right? Ning Tian muttered and said slowly, that's right. What exists in the seawater is indeed the power of darkness and chaos. They reject spiritual energy. Thus, spiritual energy is unable to exist in the Undying Sea and can only be corroded. It is precisely because of this that our Undying Sea's clan gradually grew stronger. Because no cultivator dares to enter the Undying Sea. The master of the Undying Sea nodded. Then, you are not using spiritual energy? Ling Lu was stunned. Of course they are not using spiritual energy. They are using the aura of chaos. Otherwise, they would have been corroded by the Undying Sea. How could they survive? Without waiting for the master of the Undying Sea to speak, Ning Tian answered for him. At the same time, the aura of darkness appeared in his hand and enveloped him and Ling. As expected, when the aura of chaos covered the spiritual energy, the strong corrosive power instantly dissipated. What? You actually know that we are using the aura of chaos. Moreover, even you are able to control the aura of chaos. Looking at this scene, the master of the Undying Sea was stunned for a long time before he came back to his senses. Previously, when they were struggling to survive in the Undying Sea, they had studied it for a long time and lost countless people before they could barely control the aura of darkness and chaos that they could use. But now, Ning Tian was able to control it effortlessly. Moreover, the power that he unconsciously displayed was far beyond theirs. You have shocked the master of the Undying Sea. Forging Dao has increased. Currently, the host can forge a supra-divine weapon. The system's notification sounded. Supra-divine weapon? Ning Tian frowned. The increase in Forging Dao had caused Yi Wuyo to lose the status of a tool in his heart. After all, his Forging Dao was not inferior to Yi Wuyo's. Founder, Ice God, follow me. That place is very close. The master of the Undying Sea came back to his senses and said to Ning Tian and Ling Lu. Okay. The three of them continued to head towards the depths of the Undying Sea. Although it was pitch black, Ning Tian still managed to detect many things with his powerful divine consciousness. In the deathly still seabed, there were many broken buildings. There seemed to be some ancient things sealed in them. Sky dome? Depth of the sea? What does this mean? Ning Tian frowned. His divine consciousness saw a plaque. There were only 6 words on it. However, it seemed to be more than that. While they were going deeper into the Undying Sea, Ning Tian activated his divine consciousness to check the surroundings. The master of the undying sea looked at the calm Ning Tian and heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like even the founder couldn't see through everything in the surroundings. However, he didn't know that Ning Tian had already seen everything that could be seen. A few minutes later, this undying sea is indeed not simple. Ning Tian frowned and muttered in his heart, "Founder, we're here." At this moment, the voice of the master of the undying sea was heard. Hearing this, Ning Tian and Ling looked ahead. There seemed to be an underwater cave in front of them. There were many figures with the same appearance as the master of the undying sea. "Founder, Ice God, these are our clansmen. We were once part of the human race, but the master of the undying sea sighed." The figures in the surroundings also had a helpless expression. The undying sea had a lot of indescribable past. Human race, hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a glint. Could their past existence be related to what he had just seen? "Founder, after entering this underwater cave, it's where the seal is located. Inside the seal is a large amount of undying bluestone mine." The master of the undying sea didn't explain and looked at the underwater cave. Chapter 735. Underwater Cave. Ning Tian looked at the place the undying ocean lord pointed at and frowned. "This place, why does it look so familiar?" Let's go in and take a look," he said. "Okay." The undying ocean lord nodded and instructed the members of the undying ocean. Then, he led Ning Tian and Ling into the underwater cave. When the three of them entered the cave, the surrounding seawater started to recede. The surroundings were pitch black with faint candlelight. "This place is..." When he saw the familiar surroundings, Ning Tian's expression became strange. He looked around and saw a broken black rectangular object. That's right, it was a coffin. What the F***CK? Wasn't this the place where he first came to the divine domain a million years ago when the space-time law changed? It was here that he met Qin Luo. It turned out that Qin Luo was stealing the undying limestone at that time. This was not a tomb at all. It was the undying limestone mine. The first time Ning Tian came to this underwater cave, Qin Luo was stealing the undying limestone. The second time he came to break the seal of the undying limestone. This was too ridiculous. "This is the place where the seal is," the undying ocean lord said slowly. "Then what is this coffin?" Ning Tian pointed at the pitch-black coffin and asked, "It's a coffin, ancestor. Didn't you say that it's a coffin?" To this, the undying ocean lord was dumbfounded. "What is a coffin? Isn't a coffin a coffin?" Ning Tian. His intelligence was affected by Qin Luo. "I mean, why is this coffin placed here?" Ning Tian took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice, "Oh, this used to be my ancestor's item. Because there is no sea here, it has always been here. It was placed here as early as 1,000,000 years ago. Then, it was pried open by a thief who was looking for a rich woman." The undying ocean lord became angry when he mentioned this. Cough. Ning Tian coughed dryly. He seemed to have temporarily borrowed the coffin of someone else's ancestor, and Qin Luo thought that there was some treasure in it. So he pried open the coffin and rescued Ning Tian, who had fainted because of the law of space and time. "All right, let's not talk about this for now. Where is the seal?" Ning Tian looked at the undying ocean master. "Where?" The master of the undying sea pointed at a stone wall. There was an ancient array carved on the stone wall. The ancient patterns formed a complex array. This array didn't seem to be carved with spirit chi, so it was very difficult to remove. Otherwise, for the past 1,000,000 years, the undying sea lord was also helpless against this seal. "Master, this seal doesn't seem to be able to be undone using the unsealing method." Ling stepped forward to investigate, then shook her head at Ning Tian. "But there's a groove in the middle. Perhaps we need the corresponding key. Otherwise, there's nothing we can do." As Ning Tian's disciple, Ling had learned everything she needed to learn. She could tell the difficulty of this sealing array with a single glance. Yes, just like what the ice god said, there is no other way to unlock this array. We can only unlock it with the key. But it has been 1,000,000 years. How can we find the key? The master of the undying sea sighed helplessly. After 1,000,000 years, if the key could be found, it could only be said that it was fated with this item. This seal must be undone. Otherwise, it will be difficult to resist the dark tide with just the ice crystal ore. When the time comes, the southern cold star ocean might be the first to fall into the dark tide. Ning Tian frowned and took a step forward to look at the seal. It looked like an array, but it was actually unlocking the real thing. Key, he muttered to himself as he looked at the keyhole. The more he looked, the more he felt that the keyhole looked familiar. It seemed like he had once used something similar to unlocking the seal in a place of justice. It seemed like it was in the quiet ocean abyss in the firmament territory. Wait, I think I have the key. At this moment, Ning Tian seemed to have thought of something. He said with a strange expression, "Huh, Master, Ancestral Master, you have the key?" Ling and the Master of the Undying Sea said in unison when they heard Ning Tian's words. Both of them had a strange expression on their faces. Even Ning Tian was dumbfounded, let alone the two of them. It is possible," Ning Tian said, and then took out an item from his storage ring. "This is..." Ling and the Master of the Undying Sea reacted when they saw the item. They saw the weapon in Ning Tian's hand was a weapon with 3 sharp spearheads. However, they were all covered in rust. The weapon in his hand was the Poseidon's trident that he had obtained from a group of sea monsters. Chapter 481. However, after he obtained it, he did not use it much and kept it in his storage ring. If it was not for the familiarity of the keyhole, he would have forgotten about it. When Ning Tian took out the sea god's trident, the Master of the Undying Sea became silent. "Let me try." Ning Tian picked up the rusty Neptune's trident and walked towards the seal. She used her divine will and lifted the Neptune's trident. She aimed it at the keyhole and inserted it. It was very smooth, and there was no resistance. It looked right. However, there seemed to be no reaction. The seal was still calm, and there was no fluctuation. Ning Tian frowned. Maybe, at this moment, the Master of the Undying Ocean, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. He looked at the sea god's trident, and his eyes flashed. Perhaps the quality of the sea god's trident isn't high enough to break the seal. 7th update. Yesterday, I sent a notice on WeChat's official account to request for leave. Today, I've made up for all of it. I don't owe a single update. I even made up for one extra update. Don't say that I owe a single update. Chapter 736. Can't reach the requirement to break the seal? Hearing the Undying Ocean Lord's words, Ning Tian frowned slightly. He looked at the Undying Ocean Lord and said indifferently, "What kind of quality does it need to reach the requirement to break the seal?" I'm afraid it needs to be at the level of a super-divine tool." The Undying Ocean Lord was silent for a moment before saying, although the name of the sea god's trident in Ning Tian's hand sounded gorgeous, it was probably not even a divine tool. At most, it was equivalent to a piece of scrap metal. To upgrade it to a super-divine tool in a short period of time, it might be difficult. "Master, why don't I make a trip to the Sky Devil region and look for Yuwuyo?" At the side, Ling frowned slightly and looked at Ning Tian. She had a slight impression of Yuwuyo. He had once seduced a female disciple of her ice god palace. The key was that he was very dissolute. He was an old scumbag. Later on, he was blacklisted by her in the southern ice star ocean. However, although he was a scumbag, he was still a blacksmith master. "No need." Ning Tian chuckled and looked at Ling Lass. "My 7th senior brother has already lost his position as a tool in my heart. After all, the blacksmith master is right beside you." "In?" Ling was stunned. "Ancestor, you mean you can forge the sea god's trident into a super-divine tool?" The Undying Ocean Lord's eyes flashed. "Isn't it fine as long as I have hands?" Ning Tian chuckled. The Undying Ocean Lord was stunned. Ning Tian didn't explain. She just smiled. Next, he casually took out the forging furnace and the heavenly fire law appeared in his hand. He then threw the rusty and tattered sea god's trident into the furnace. In an instant, the heavenly fire directly enveloped it. The terrifying temperature rose all of a sudden. It was also at this time that Ning Tian took out a few undying blue stones that the undying Ocean Lord had and threw them in. Path of Forging activate. Sea God's Trident, begin forging. Target. Super Divine Tool. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, within the forging furnace, heavenly flames rose and the Sea God's Trident was enveloped in flames. It faintly emitted rays of light, and the sound of forging echoed within the forging furnace. Meanwhile, Spirit and the Undying Ocean Master were watching from the side. The former was relatively calm. After all, this was his master, but the latter's mouth was twitching. The Undying Ocean Lord looked at Ning Tian, then at his own hand. In the end, he couldn't help but sigh and almost collapsed. As long as I have hands? It was one thing for him to be unable to be a human being, but now he wasn't even worthy of having a hand? Sigh. The patriarch of the Tianma cult, what kind of person was he? The Undying Ocean Master sighed. He's not human. Ling shook her head and spoke indifferently to the master of the Undying Ocean. She looked at Ning Tian, who was seriously controlling the furnace, and a wisp of deep adoration and infatuation flashed through her beautiful eyes. The master of the Undying Ocean was stunned for a moment before he slowly typed a question mark. This is a disciple scolding his master? He is a god. At this moment, Ling's voice sounded again. Her tone was serious and filled with conviction. His master was no longer human. What he wanted to be was a god high up in the sky, a god who could create all miracles. God. The master of the Undying Ocean was stunned for a moment. His gaze landed on Ning Tian. He naturally understood that the god that the ice god mentioned was not the same as the ancient god. It was an existence that was above the ancient god. At this moment, the master of the Undying Ocean went silent. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the entire underwater cave was filled with flames, and the sound of hammering metal could be heard. Dozens of minutes later, the final hammer. Ning Tian's gaze landed on the forging furnace. The Sea God's Trident was covered in a layer of black ash. He muttered, and the heavenly flame law in his hand appeared again, turning into a blazing hammer. He raised the blazing hammer and hammered down under the gaze of Spirit and the master of the Undying Ocean. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the glow of flames shot into the sky while a violent rumbling resounded out abruptly, causing the entire seabed to fluctuate. Even the originally deathly silent, undying sea had a wisp of tempestuous waves at this moment. It was as if the entire Undying Ocean had come alive. It has really reached the level of a supra-divine tool. Only the real Sea God's Trident can cause such a stir. The one who holds the Sea God's Trident is like the Sea God descending. Seeing this scene, the master of the Undying Ocean's eyes flashed with excitement. Phew. Super divine tool. It feels okay. This undying green stone is indeed the toughest ore in the southern ice star ocean. It is really smooth when forged with this ore. Ning Tian waved his hand, and the heavenly flame dissipated. He also kept the forging furnace. He held the Sea God's Trident that was reborn and couldn't help but sigh. This undying greenstone is a good item. I have to get more of it later. Ancestor. Now that the Sea God's Trident has reached the level of breaking the seal, let's begin. At the side, the master of the Undying Ocean took a deep look at the Sea God's Trident in Ning Tian's hand and said slowly, "It has reached the level of breaking the seal," Ning Tian murmured. However, he wasn't in a hurry to start. Instead, he looked at the master of the Undying Ocean and said faintly, "Master of the Undying Ocean, how do you know that the item in my hand is called the Sea God's Trident?" There were many tridents. However, there was only one Sea God's Trident. Hearing this, the master of the Undying Ocean was stunned. Indeed, when Ning Tian took out the Sea God's Trident, he didn't mention its name. Could it be that the master of the Undying Ocean had read the script? Or he knew about the Sea God's Trident and had a deep relationship with it? The master of the Undying Ocean fell into silence. Ning Tian continued to say slowly, "The vault of the sky, the depth of the sea." Hearing this, the master of the undying ocean's body trembled. He seemed to be somewhat excited. "I think there should be more to it, right? The vault of the sky, the depth of the sea, and the size of the tortoise. Can it be stewed in a pot?" Ning Tian's voice sounded again. However, there was a lot of playfulness in his voice. "The vault of the sky," the master of the undying ocean's eyes flashed. After a moment of silence, he sighed and said, "I didn't expect that. The vault of the sky, the depth of the sea, the size of the island, the black tortoise country, it's the netherworld black tortoise, right?" Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and said faintly, "If I'm not mistaken, you are from the firmament territory's black tortoise country. The black tortoise country doesn't live on land. It lives on the shell of the netherworld black tortoise. I don't know how long ago, the first dark turmoil came and people were terrified. The divine realm experts of the black tortoise country came to the deity domain to seek protection because they were afraid of the darkness. However, the dark turmoil didn't only exist in the 9 territories. Chapter 737. Without the protection of the deity domain, you escaped to the undying seabed. Although the undying seabed isolated you from the most terrifying aura of the dark turmoil, it also turned you into this. Because you abandoned the people of Black Tortoise Country, you felt guilty and chose to live in the undying sea. The people of Black Tortoise Country in the Firmament Territory were all buried in the dark turmoil. At that time, the Firmament Territory was also penetrated and could only be guarded by the Nether Black Tortoise in the Endless Sea to strengthen the Firmament Territory. As for the Sea God's Trident, it was the divine weapon of Black Tortoise Country. Ning Tian's voice fell. Ling, who was beside him, listened quietly as if she was listening to a story. The undying Sea Lord remained silent from the beginning until the end. However, after hearing Ning Tian's words, his brows furrowed tightly. When Ning Tian finished speaking, he sighed deeply. "Ancestral Master, how did you know?" He looked at Ning Tian and asked. "The Nether Black Tortoise is under my control. Naturally, I know part of its memories." Ning Tian said calmly. There were indeed traces of people living on the shell of the Nether Black Tortoise. The fragments of memories were connected to everything here. "I see." The undying Sea Lord raised his brows slightly and sighed. "At that time, we were just... Stop. I'm not here to listen to you reminisce. I don't want to know why you're running away." However, before the undying Sea Lord could finish speaking, Ning Tian raised his hand and interrupted him. "I just want to know one thing. This time, will you run away?" Ning Tian looked at him calmly. The undying Sea Lord was silent. He hesitated for a moment and gritted his teeth. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. He shook his head heavily. "I won't run away. I've already lost the people of Black Tortoise Country. I won't abandon the people of the Undying Sea Tribe." "Very good." Ning Tian nodded in satisfaction. Without further ado, he picked up the Sea God's Trident and walked towards the seal. Although the Sea God's Trident belonged to Black Tortoise Country 1,000,000 years ago, Ning Tian had no intention of returning it. How could he return something that was in the ancestral master's hands? That was obviously not possible. Phew. This time, it should be able to break the seal. Ning Tian murmured. Then, he raised the Sea God's Trident and inserted it into the groove. It was smooth and unobstructed. Boom. This time, when the Sea God's Trident, which had become a supra-divine tool again, was inserted into the groove as a key, there was finally a certain reaction, and the formation on the stone wall began to crack. Then, what had cracked wasn't just the array formation, but the entire stone wall. "It's opening." Spirit widened her beautiful eyes. A layer of ice appeared on her hand. She was prepared to deal with any sudden attack. However, her worries were unfounded. But when the seal was broken, a huge mine appeared in front of the three of them. Pieces of stone that shone brightly in the dark appeared before Ning Tian's eyes. "This place is filled with undying bluestone mines. I'm afraid There are more than 30,000 of them. Don't you think so, Lord of the Undying Ocean? Ning Tian looked at the Lord of the Undying Ocean with a meaningful gaze. His lips curled into a smile. The Lord of the Undying Ocean. Hearing this, he seemed to understand the other meaning behind the ancestral master's words. He sighed. The ancestral master can take more. Oh, that's what you said. Ning Tian smiled as he looked at the undying bluestone mines. Then, he turned to Spirit and said, "Let's go, girl. Let's do something big. There are so many undying bluestone mines. Haha, we're rich now." Spirit nodded with a smile. Seeing this scene, the Lord of the Undying Ocean was stunned. He looked at Ning Tian suspiciously. Why do I feel that the Ancestral Master has the shadow of that bastard thief? Ancestral Master. This undying bluestone mine is very hard. It requires a special tool to harvest it. It just so happens that I have. The Lord of the Undying Ocean looked at Ning Tian, who was preparing to harvest the undying bluestone mine. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Ning Tian. There's no need to go through so much trouble. I have my own way. Ning Tian waved his hand. What way? The Lord of the Undying Ocean looked over in confusion. In the next moment, his expression changed greatly. Holy shit! He cursed. Ning Tian took out the sea god's trident that was just forged into a super divine tool and used it to smash the undying bluestone mine. This is a super divine tool. Using a super divine tool to smash the undying bluestone mine? The Lord of the Undying Ocean was dumbfounded. So, there is such a method. A super divine tool is a treasure to others. In the Ancestral Master's hands, it can only be used as a mining tool. Damn. Everything can be used as a tool. After dozens of minutes of mining, the Lord of the Undying Ocean thought of a saying. Wherever the Ancestral Master goes, not even a blade of grass will grow. That's right. There is not even a single piece of undying bluestone here. Done. My wife will get 1 undying bluestone armor, 1 for my little wife, 1 for Ling, 1 for Bai Lu, and maybe 1 for the heavenly demon cult. Ning Tian chuckled as he made up his mind. The Lord of the Undying Ocean had mixed feelings. He seems to have that serious illness. He actually invited a wolf into his house. Sigh. The Lord of the Undying Ocean had mixed feelings. After a sigh, he did not say anything. As long as these undying bluestone mine can stop the dark tide, everything will be worth it. Phew, full of harvest. Done. Ning Tian put away all the undying bluestone mine and looked at the Lord of the Undying Ocean. Lord of the Undying Ocean, bring a few people and build this city wall with us. The Lord of the Undying Ocean. Not only did I provide the materials, but I also have to be a tool. I am so pitiful, however. The Lord of the Undying Ocean could only rage in his heart. He could not do anything to Ning Tian and could only nod. Spirit, let's go. Yes, Master. Spirit silently followed her master's footsteps. Dozens of minutes later, Ice God City. Ancestral Master. Lord Ice God, you are finally back. When they saw several figures in the sky, Elder Su Bing and the others were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. We have the undying bluestone. Everyone, follow me to the land of endless cold. Whether we can stop the dark tide or not depends on this wave. Ning Tian stood in the sky and looked down at the people of the Ice God Palace. Yes, Ancestral Master. Hearing this, at this moment, everyone was nervous, but there was a trace of expectation. Would they be able to stop the incoming black tide under the leadership of the Patriarch? One more update. Chapter 738. In the Land of Endless Cold. At this moment, the 4 divine ice pillars had completely collapsed, smashing heavily onto the ground and shattering into several pieces. The surrounding chill had already reached an extremely terrifying degree. At the very center, the ice door had already been tightly sealed. Naturally, before Ning Tian had left, she had used the law of ice to reseal the place so that the foe beasts would not escape. However, at this moment, although the ice door was still intact, There was a lot of black fog escaping from it. Is this the power of the dark turmoil? What a terrifying aura. Somewhere in the sky, everyone stepped out from the void. When they saw the wisps of black fog seeping out from the ice door, Elder Su Bing and the others looked solemn. Their eyes were filled with fear. Boom, boom. At this moment, there were even rumbles that made one's heart tremble with fear. This is just a little bit of the weakest power of the dark turmoil. Aside, Ning Tian glanced at the black gas that was seeping out and frowned slightly. She spoke in a calm tone. The weakest power. A little bit? Hearing this, Elder Su Bing and the others were shocked. This was just the weakest power. Ancestral Master. Elder Su Bing glanced at the calm Ning Tian and could not help but ask, Ancestral Master, aren't you afraid? Afraid? Why should I be afraid? Ning Tian said calmly. Look at the Lord of the Undying Ocean beside you. He is so scared. Elder Su Bing swallowed and pointed at the shivering Lord of the Undying Ocean. It seemed that this guy was traumatized by the dark turmoil. He is him and I am me. Why should I be afraid of the dark turmoil? Fear will only affect my thinking. It can't save me. Ning Tian said calmly. Hearing this, Elder Su Bing and the others were silent. They looked at Ning Tian differently and were filled with respect. They sighed in their hearts. He is indeed the ancestral master. From the looks of it, the black tide might be coming soon. Get ready, Ning Tian said faintly. Then, he took out a part of the undying bluestones stored in his storage ring. He looked at the people around him and said faintly, Everyone, just do as I told you before and start the operation. Yes, Patriarch. Elder Su Bing and the other tools responded. Everyone began to move the immortal bluestones. According to Ning Tian's instructions, they piled up the immortal bluestones one after another, forming a circle that enveloped the entire land of endless cold. In an instant, it was like a bluestone city wall. 10 minutes later, tens of thousands of undying bluestones had been placed together, giving everyone a strong sense of oppression. These things, can they really stop the dark tide? Elder Su Bing and the others could not help but feel worried when they saw the walls made from undying limestone. Could these seemingly tough walls really stop the extremely terrifying chaos of darkness? These undying bluestones naturally can't, Ning Tian said faintly. Then, under everyone's gaze, he slowly walked toward the undying bluestones. He raised his hand and placed it on the undying bluestones. He said faintly, But I can. As soon as his voice died away, under everyone's gazes, Ning Tian slowly raised his hand, and a terrifying energy condensed in his hand. Use, impregnable city wall. As the system's voice sounded in his mind, the skill was successfully used. Boom. In an instant, the energy in Ning Tian's hand surged. The undying bluestones that were piled up began to change under the surge of energy. A tough wall appeared in everyone's sight. Moreover, on top of the bluestone walls, there was also a series of formations. There were offensive arrays and defensive arrays. Impregnable city wall. There were not only defensive arrays, but both offensive and defensive arrays. The expressions of Elder Su Bing and the others were extremely solemn when they saw the bluestone walls suddenly rise. They could vaguely sense the extreme might contained within the walls. The ancestral master's move was not simple. When the black tide arrives, all of you will approach the walls and circulate your spiritual energy. It can be used for both defense and offense. Understand? Ning Tian looked at Elder Su Bing and the others and said faintly, Yes, Ancestral Master. Hearing Ning Tian's words, Elder Su Bing and the others looked grave. They were a little nervous. This was their first time facing the black tide. Although it was just the beginning of the black tide, they still had to take it seriously. If they were not careful, they might die in it. At this moment, everyone was preparing and waiting for the black tide to arrive anxiously. On top of a glacier, Ling sat on top and looked at the busy people below. She shook her little feet in boredom. At this moment, she heard footsteps beside her. Then, a familiar aura hit her face. He sat beside her without hesitation. Master. The black tide is coming. Ling glanced at Ning Tian, who was sitting beside her, and said, Yes. Ning Tian nodded slightly and took a bite of the apple. There was nothing more pretentious than taking a bite of an apple before a big battle. Oh no, it was more relaxing. Lass, are you afraid? Ning Tian looked at Ling and asked. No. Master is here. Ling shook her head. The simplest words were the most tenacious stone in her heart. Hearing this, Ning Tian's action of biting the apple suddenly stopped. The corner of his mouth lifted into a smile. The two fell into silence for a while. Elder Su Bing, the undying ocean lord, and the others below were worried and worried. However, the two above the glacier seemed to be very relaxed. Master, at this moment, Ling spoke again. Ning Tian frowned slightly and looked over. Master, about the seal. When are you going to? Ling held the ice blade tightly. After a moment of silence, she pretended to have the courage to look at Ning Tian. However, before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly heard a roar. Boom, boom. In an instant, they saw a huge amount of black chi burst out from the ice door below. Ancestral Master, the black tide is coming. Elder Su Bing hurriedly shouted, It's coming. Ning Tian's expression suddenly turned solemn. After taking a bite of the apple, he looked at Ling and asked with a frown, Lass, what did you just say? Nothing. Nothing. Ling paused for a moment and shook her head. Then, she got up and looked at the ice door. A layer of ice appeared on her delicate body. She said faintly, Master, let's deal with this black tide first. Oh. Ning Tian responded and raised his brows. This last Ling, why does she seem to be filled with killing intent? Who ruined her plan? Chapter 739. He saw there was a very conspicuous red stain on the pure white bedsheet that was emitting the fragrance of a young girl. Ning Tian frowned and reached out to pick up the bedsheet to examine it carefully. However, at this moment, Ling suddenly quivered and snatched the bedsheet from his hand. She stammered, Master, this is a nosebleed. Nosebleed? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He frowned and muttered, Cultivators at our level still have nosebleeds? And this nosebleed, whose is it? This. Of course it will. At this moment, Ling carefully hid the bedsheet behind her. Her little head spun as she thought about what her master would do at this moment. After all, she wanted to solve her master's problem with his thoughts. It's true. Even cultivators at our level will have nosebleeds. Her little face was full of seriousness as she nodded and said, Really? Ning Tian's brows were still furrowed. Yes, Master, if you don't believe me, you can remove all the spiritual energy, Ling said seriously. Hearing that, Ning Tian was skeptical. He listened to Ling and slowly removed the spiritual energy that enveloped his body. At the same time, when she saw that her master had removed all the spiritual energy, Ling decisively gave him a punch. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Ning Tian saw a nosebleed that he hadn't seen in a long time. Master, look, isn't there a nosebleed? Ling withdrew her little fist and said seriously. Ning Tian. After a moment of silence, Ning Tian could only sigh. This disciple of his had really learned his essence. Amazing. I really don't know what to do with a little girl like you. Ning Tian casually wiped away the nosebleed and then glared at Ling helplessly. When he saw that Ling had finally gotten away with this matter, he heaved a heavy sigh of relief. She didn't want to lay all her cards on the table just like that. Her master still had a lot of things to do. She didn't want to make things difficult for him. By the way, Master, Ling carefully put away the bedsheet like it was a treasure. Then, as if she had thought of something, she looked at Ning Tian and asked, When you return, are you going to make a move on the Cloud Atlas? It's about time. Before the final battle, this hidden danger must be eliminated. Ning Tian nodded and said in a deep voice, The final battle, huh? Ling's expression was serious. She sighed and said, Then Master, when you attack Ancient Guardian 2, call my Ice God Palace too. These guys, I've long disliked them. All right, regarding this, Ning Tian did not refuse. Now that the black tide in the southern frost star sea had dispersed, it could be said that it was more stable than the other regions. Now that there was no seal to guard, calling the ice god palace was indeed a feasible method. Then when is master going to leave? Spirit looked over reluctantly. In a few days. Forget it, a month later. I'll stay in the southern frost star sea to observe if there are any hidden dangers left behind by the black tide. Ning Tian originally planned to leave in a few days. However, when he saw the reluctance in the girl's eyes, his heart softened and he changed his mind. Hearing this, Ling's beautiful eyes flashed with excitement. She nodded heavily. Okay, then this month, I'll take you around the entire southern frost star sea. In this month, Ling did take Ning Tian to many places in the southern frost star sea. During this month, Ning Tian also paid attention to the places that were swallowed by the black tide. Originally, there should be some traces left behind by the black tide. However, there was no trace left at all. It was as if the black tide had never happened. After seeing all this, Ning Tian guessed that it might have something to do with the world tree absorbing the black tide's power. A month later, above the ice god palace. Master, be careful. Ling looked at Ning Tian's back as he was about to leave. She waved her hand desperately. Okay. Ning Tian smiled and nodded. With a wave of his hand, a spatial door appeared in front of him. Just as he was about to leave, Ling, who was not far away, mustered up her courage and came to Ning Tian's side. Master, she said in a small voice. Girl, what's wrong? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. Ling gritted her teeth, tiptoed, and whispered 3 words in his ear. Before Ning Tian could react, she pushed him into the spatial door. Looking at the slowly closing spatial door, Ning Tian could not help but shake his head helplessly. This girl, she really did have feelings for him as her master. Sigh, it's my fault for being too handsome. Ning Tian never spoke a single word of human language. 10 minutes later, in the Sky Demon region, a void energy appeared in the sky. Then, a young man in black stepped out of the void. He stretched his back and looked at the familiar Tianma cult. He could not help but sigh. Sigh, it's not a good thing to be too strong. I came back too quickly and did not see the scenery along the way. Sigh. I don't know. How's my wife? Ning Tian looked in the direction of the Sky Demon Palace and took a step toward it. Old rules. First update today. Make up for it tomorrow. 5 chapters tomorrow. Tired. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.